My sister wanted to ruin my special day. My spoiled sister tried to destroy my grandma's gift of a family heirloom necklace to me for my wedding because I was adopted. Since our parents disowned her in front of everyone, she is too ashamed to face anyone. I, 33 female, am an adopted child. My adoptive mom, 63, female, adopted me as a single parent when I was a year old. She says I'm her lucky charm because a week after she brought me home, she met my adoptive dad, her future husband, 62 male. They hit it off and were married within a year. 2 years later, when I was 4, my sister, Sienna, now 29, female, was born. Our parents, I call them mom and dad because they are my mom and dad, have always been transparent with us. I've known for as long as I can remember that I was adopted. Dad adopted me soon after he married mom, but the fact was never hidden, from me or from Sienna. We weren't treated differently. We were raised as siblings and loved the same. Our grandparents, both maternal and paternal, also loved us equally. I recently learned that initially, my paternal grandparents did not like the fact that Dad had married a woman who had adopted a child. But Dad put his foot down and said that if they wanted him in their lives, they had to treat me like his child. Have been very fortunate to have had the most understanding parents, and I thank God every single day that Mom chose me. Sienna and I also shared a good relationship. It wasn't perfect, just the usual sibling stuff. She used to wear my clothes, and I'd get mad, and I'd embarrass her in front of her friends. Then she would get back at me. Nothing major, just everyday normal girl stuff. We never had an issue big enough to create any resentment. There were no stupid tales of stealing boyfriends or favoritism, which is exactly why what she did ended up being a huge shock to me. I got married 2 weeks ago to my husband Lucas, 34, male. I feel so weird and giddy calling him that, but I digress. The issue happened 2 weeks before the wedding, roughly a month ago. My Nona maternal grandma told me that she had something to give me. It was a beautiful emerald necklace that she said had been part of the family for generations. Her mom had worn it, and since then, it had been passed down in the family. She told me she wanted me to keep it. It isn't a huge set or anything extravagant, but it holds a lot of sentimental value. I was overjoyed at receiving it, and though Nona said it might not go with my wedding dress, I told her that it would be my honor to wear it. Ever since we were young, Nona used to tell both Sienna and me that she had something to give us when we were older and married. We would joke with her, asking whether we would still get this gift if we didn't get married. That used to rub her the wrong way, and Sienna and I loved getting a rise out of her. She would play along because she knew we were just being silly. Had told us when we were kids that the first girl in the family to get married would get the gift and that it was very special. We had never known what it was, but we figured out it was some kind of heirloom. So when the time actually came and she handed over the necklace to me, I just felt so happy and overwhelmed. It was a very heartwarming moment for everyone, and my mom and dad were crying. Even Sienna had tears in her eyes, which I thought were happy tears, but I guess I was really wrong. I had no idea what was going on in her mind or that my parents knew she was hurt about all this. I learned after the wedding and after she had staged such a horrid prank on me that it ultimately kind of broke the family. She was my maid of honor. Obviously, I do have a couple of close friends who were my bridesmaids, but I trusted Sienna with maid of honor duties. She has always been a responsible person, so I knew I could count on her. She's my sister, and she's also meticulous. So she was the obvious choice for this. One of my bridesmaids, June, came to me a week before the wedding and told me that Sienna was planning something. She said it was meant to be a surprise, but Sienna wasn't allowing any other bridesmaid to check what she was doing. June found this odd and said she wanted me to know that this was happening behind the scenes. I told her there was nothing to worry about, and I was sure it would be something nice and sweet. Boy, was I wrong. June tried to check again, but I assured her that there was nothing to worry about. It was just Sienna being thoughtful. On the day of the wedding, as I walked down the aisle, I noticed that the music that was supposed to be played wasn't. Instead, a video started playing. The video was from my bachelorette party, which took place right after Nona gave me the necklace. It wasn't indecent or objectionable as such, just that I was really drunk and enjoying myself. With friends, I was mortified when I saw it, and so was Lucas. The video showed me and a few friends on top of a table, wearing shorts and singing songs from Mona, all while drinking and making goofy faces. It was actually a fun video, but it was also private, not meant for everyone to see, especially not like this. When I saw the video playing, my feet froze, and I looked around helplessly for a few seconds. Sienna was supposed to be in charge of the music, and she was standing right there, laughing. Glared at her, but she kept laughing. Tiffany, one of my bridesmaids, ran and stopped the video. So it only played for about 30 to 40 seconds, but that was still too much. I could see Sienna mouthing that this was a prank and that it was all so funny seeing my face like that. Genuinely wanted to slap her, because what she had done was vile and cruel. Thankfully, I composed myself. I smiled, walked back, and asked one of my other bridesmaids to make sure my entry was perfect this time. Sienna had ruined the day for me though. I tried to brush it off and enjoy myself, but it was no use. I had tears in my eyes and wanted to run away, but I held my head high and went through with the ceremony. The guests were awkward too, and the entire vibe of the wedding was ruined. The rest of the event went smoothly, and I asked June to tell Sienna that she was no longer going to handle anything and that I wanted her seated. She tried to throw a tantrum, saying, "I never knew Amelia was such a prude. I swear she doesn't know how to take a joke." But thankfully, my other bridesmaids handled her. Dad also came up to me and said he had given Sienna a stern talking to, and that he would deal with her after the wedding, so I shouldn't worry about it. I knew she would be reprimanded, but that didn't matter anymore because she had ruined my big day all for a stupid prank, which she honestly should have known wasn't funny. It was only later that I found out it wasn't just a prank. She had actually bad intentions, which made what she did even more unforgivable. A week after the wedding, Mom, Dad, and Sienna came to the house unannounced. Lucas was furious when he saw Sienna. He had made it clear on the wedding day itself that he didn't want her inside our house ever again, and that if it were up to him, he'd make sure I cut contact with her for what she did. Mom and Dad apologized for bringing her along and said we needed to hear what she had to say from her own mouth, and then I could decide what to do. I hadn't spoken to Sienna since the wedding, and it was very uncomfortable. But I wanted closure. She shuffled her feet and hesitated, and I honestly thought she had come to apologize for the prank and was embarrassed by what she'd done. That been the case, I know I would have forgiven her. But it was much, much worse. Dad was furious, and it was ultimately he who coaxed her, rather, hounded Sienna into finally telling me the truth. She said she hated that Nona had given the necklace to me and was hoping she would get it instead. It felt strange. I mean, that was no reason, especially since we shared jewelry all the time. I told her if she had such a problem with me getting the necklace, she could have just told me, and I wouldn't have worn it at the wedding. I assumed she wanted to wear it for her wedding whenever that may happen. And now she couldn't because I had already worn it. She said no, that wasn't the issue. I reminded her we've always shared jewelry, so I didn't understand why this necklace was suddenly such a big deal. I was even more shocked because everyone in the family knows that the necklace goes either to the first daughter of the family or the one who gets married first. In this case, both of these were me, so there was really no reason Nona wouldn't have given it to me. And it's not as if this was a secret. We've always known about the necklace, so her sudden issue with it didn't make sense. I asked her why this was such a big issue that she reacted so vindictively without even talking to me. I told her that if her intent was genuinely malicious, then I had nothing more to say to her. She stayed quiet, but Mom nudged her, and she burst out crying. What she said next completely broke my heart. She said that the necklace was meant for the firstborn daughter of the family. I looked at her, genuinely not understanding how that was different, and she emphasized that it was for the firstborn, daughter meaning her. I never thought I'd have to hear something like that. She then started spewing so much hatred that I had to literally push her out of the house. She said I wasn't even a real child of Mom and Dad's, yet I received all the love. It was as if I was the first kid of the family when, technically, according to her, I wasn't. She was because of biology. I reminded her that neither Mom nor Dad ever treated me like I was adopted or different, and neither had Nona so. Why would they act differently now? She said she didn't care if they hadn't treated me differently. They should have. She went ballistic, and I told her if she genuinely felt I wasn't part of the family, then she had no right to be inside my house. Lucas took the cue and told her to get out, which she did. Mom went with her. She was inconsolable but furious, but Dad stayed for a few minutes. He hugged me, apologized for how things turned out, and assured me I would always be their daughter, no matter what. He said he wanted me to hear this from Sienna's mouth, because otherwise I wouldn't have believed them. He was right. I wouldn't have. I was crying by then, and he said he would call soon to check in. He left, and since then, I've felt numb. I can't believe my own sister, that's just how I think of her, would think this of me. She's the same girl I changed diapers for. The same girl I've shared all my makeup and clothes with. The same girl who made me read her diary, and who came to me whenever something was wrong. I don't know what happened, and I can't help but wonder what led her to behave this way. Edit. Dad just called. He said that Mom and he decided to disown Sienna because, in hindsight, while they could forgive her for what she did, they could never forgive her for what she felt. They said they tried asking her if she ever felt any favoritism toward me from their side, but she said no. They kept asking why she felt this way, but she had no answer. Apparently, there was a big fight, and that was the last straw for Mom and Dad, so they've completely cut her off. He warned me to be cautious since she might go unhinged on social media and advised me not to let it get to me. I told him I would block her because I don't have the energy to deal with her drama. I don't know what's happened. I never thought something like this would occur, but here we are. Update 1. It has been a month since I last spoke to Sienna. My parents have had no contact with her, as have I. She hasn't tried reaching out to me, which honestly hurts. I thought that maybe after a few days, she would come back and try to sort things out, but she hasn't. So it seemed pretty final that this was set in stone. She hadn't apologized, and it had been a long time, so I never thought she would text or call me. I used to keep seeing her post quotes and stuff on Instagram. Her account is public, and I use a fake account. Many of them seem like personal jabs, which hurt me more. But Lucas realized they were getting to me, and he made me stop looking at her. That was that dot. But suddenly last night, I got a call from Pops, my paternal grandfather. He lives a few states away, and it was quite late at night, so I got very worried. I picked up the call, and he said that Sienna was at his place and that she had nowhere else to go. He told me he had taken her in, but she wasn't telling him what happened or why she showed up at his doorstep in the middle of the night. He wanted to know if I knew anything, and I told him that I hadn't been in touch with her for about a month, so I had no idea what was going on. He said he would talk to her and get back to me, but he hasn't yet. So now, I don't know what to do. Part of me feels that I need to stay out of this mess because she has clearly communicated that she doesn't see me as family. If that's the case, then she is welcome to live life as she wants. But another part of me is worried about her and her well-being, and I can't help but feel guilty. I know it's because of everything that happened that she is in such a state that she must have felt very alone to go to Pops. None of us were talking to her, and now she was in trouble and couldn't ask any of us for help. I just hope Pops gets back to me soon because, despite everything, she is still my sister and I will always love her and worry about her. Update 2. This situation is much more serious than I thought. Pops called me and said that Sienna is on the verge of a mental breakdown and he won't be able to handle it alone. I asked him if she told him what was happening, and he said that that if she hadn't come to him for help, things would have been much worse. Apparently, Sienna has a long-term on-and-off boyfriend, Mason. She knew him in school, and she had a huge crush on him initially. We encouraged her little crush because she was young, and we thought it was harmless. But when she was 15, she and Mason got together. He was a nice kid at that point from what Mom and Dad told me, but soon he turned dark by dark. I genuinely mean scary and sinister. By the time he was 17, he was known as the bad boy of the town. He and Sienna were on and off by then, and no amount of counseling from either Mom and Dad or me could get her to leave him. He had regular run-ins with the cops, was into alcohol and drugs, and was overall the last guy you'd want your family to be around. We tried knocking some sense into Sienna, but to no avail. All of us had hoped that once she left for college, things would get better. That's why we were overjoyed when she went to college out of state. By that time, she had also broken up with Mason for good and was focusing on moving forward with her life. When she went to college, She started dating other guys, and I was relieved because I knew that her experience with Mason was enough to completely mess up her head. She met good guys in college, and all of us thought she had learned her lesson. Clearly, that was not the case. Right after she graduated, Mason got in touch with her again. She never told us this because she was afraid of how we would react. Admitted this to Pops. She said she didn't want us to think she was a dumb girl, and she didn't mind catching up with him after all these years. And as you all might have guessed, they got together again. Pops said she believed he was a changed man. He apologized profusely, and they got back together. Sienna has hidden this fact from us for almost 6 years, now maybe more. And all this while, she and Mason have been together. From what Pops described, he is still a rotten egg, and all that has gradually rubbed off on Sienna too. Sienna confided in Pops that they started living together 2 years ago when Mason lost his job. He had nowhere else to go, so he moved in, and she was happy because the relationship was progressing. But gradually, he began poisoning her against us, especially me. The thing is, Mason has always known that we don't like him, and he knows that I absolutely hate his guts. When I found out when they were in school that he was into drugs, I actually told Sienna that she needed to break up with him, or I would take matters into my own hands. She obviously told him, and he has villainized me ever since. Anyway, according to Pops, it is Mason who has been influencing Sienna against us. According to Sienna, it started gradually. Initially, it was just a few offhand remarks about me being adopted, and when she tried to stop him, he would act all innocent. Then the comments got worse. They used to fight about it too, and Hugh will deny saying all these things, somehow convincing Sienna that she was the one who thought these things and was finally feeling safe enough to express them. He literally programmed her through and through, and she started to believe him. The tipping point for her came when Nona gave me the necklace. He had somehow convinced her by then that none of us loved her, and everyone's focus was only on me. Completely untrue. She just lost it at that point, and in some twisted way, me getting the necklace seemed to confirm everything he had been feeding her for years. Then the prank happened. She was cut off from everyone. Even her friends were disgusted by her. So, she was completely isolated with only Mason to rely on. It didn't take him long to start abusing her. I think he knew by then that she had nowhere else to go. He had ensured that she dug a grave so deep that she wouldn't be able to climb out of it. When she came to Pops, it was after a very huge fight where she genuinely feared for her life. He had punched holes in the wall and broken things over a very trivial matter. She knew she couldn't go anywhere but to Pops because none of us were talking to her. I can't believe she has been going through all this, and I feel so guilty. We should have been more aware and more involved in her personal life. I can't stop thinking about what she must be going through. I am going to fly down to her and talk to her. I know what she did was wrong, but she's my sister, and it's my job to protect her no matter what. She has literally run for her life, and I can't help but blame myself. Maybe she could have asked for help sooner if things were okay. We should have noticed the signs of her being manipulated. It's just horrible. Pops had asked me not to tell Mom and Dad for now, and I won't, because at the end of the day, we need to respect Sienna's wishes. She has already gone through so much, and I would hate for her to suffer again in any form. I just hope I'm able to get that son of a bitch to answer for what he's done, because I know I'm not stopping until he pays for what he has done to my sister. Update 3. Sienna is back home with me. I told Lucas everything, and he was very supportive, though he's a little miffed with Sienna. He knows better than to bring it up right now. She has been crying and apologizing profusely. She knows Mason has messed with her head, but she also says that doesn't absolve her of responsibility. It's heartbreaking to see her this way. I have asked her to get into therapy because I went through every single comment you all made, and what Pops described and what she said aligned exactly with what you all pointed out. These are clear signs of narcissistic abuse, and she needs professional help to come out of this rut. I feel just so sad about the entire situation. She says she's still not ready to tell Mom and Dad, and I don't want to push her into doing anything she doesn't feel comfortable with. On the Mason front, we filed a police complaint. The lease of the house is in Sienna's name, but there's evidence that Mason was the one who caused the damage, so he's liable for it. The landlord is a sweetheart, and he has sued Mason for property damage. He's been very supportive of Sienna, which is a godsend if you ask me, so Mason is done. 4. There are 2 cases filed against him simultaneously, and he keeps calling Sienna to beg her to reconsider. I would have her block him, but our lawyers say anything he says now can also be used as evidence, so we need to tolerate this if we want to see him brought to justice. It's a tough time, and it's going to be a long legal battle, but I'm ready to fight it all and support Sienna through it. She's still very despondent, and her self-esteem has plummeted to the core. She has become a shell of herself, and I hate to see her like that. I know the road to recovery will be long and tiring, but she has to do it. And I'm so thankful that she made the decision to go to Pops. If she hadn't, none of us would have known what she's been going through. Ever since Mason re-entered her life, he has been trying to isolate her from everyone. She told me he would show jealous streaks and make a scene whenever she went out with friends. So gradually, all of them stopped inviting her. Then he caused issues within the family, and all this while, he contributed nothing, just sat on his fat ass and claimed he was looking for jobs. All the financial responsibility was on Sienna ever since he was fired. I honestly believe he wasn't fired, he quit because he wanted to mooch off of her. I can't believe how foolish Sienna could have been, but I know this is not the time to say that. She is going through a lot already, and the last thing I want to do is make her feel worse about herself. I just hope this issue gets resolved as soon as possible, and we're able to move forward as a family. Update. For final update, Sienna is now in therapy. Her therapist nudged her to talk to Mom and Dad, so we did. It was a difficult conversation, and they were heartbroken. I have never seen Dad more live a diff. We left it to him. He'd go and kill Mason with his bare hands. The case is still ongoing in court, but we have a very good chance of winning. The landlord has been brutal with Mason and has a shark of a lawyer, so it's going to be very difficult for Mason to wriggle his way out of this one. The damages amount to $11,000, and that broke asshole doesn't have a penny to his name. Sienna was able to get a restraining order against him, not that it's going to stop him, but still, she seems better, but she's not completely fine and won't be for a long time. Things are moving forward, and hopefully they will get better sooner rather than later. Sienna has also finalized a small apartment for herself and will be moving out by the end of the month. She's still in the same city, so I'll make sure to keep catching up with her. The last few months have been crazy, and I just hope that now I am able to enjoy my married life. Here are my thoughts on the story. What a roller coaster, right? This story is a brutal reminder that toxic relationships don't just hurt the person trapped in them, they poison entire families. Mason wasn't just a bad boyfriend, he was a master manipulator, slowly erasing Sienna's sense of self until she couldn't even recognize her own family's love. And let's be real, the real villain here isn't just Mason, it's the isolation he created. Cutting someone off from their support system is abuse 101. And Sienna's story shows how dangerous that playbook can be. But here's the mic drop moment. Despite everything, her family still had her back. That's the power of unconditional love. Doesn't mean ignoring the bad, but fighting like hell to pull someone out of it. Also, can we take a second to appreciate the landlord? Dude saw a predator and went full Liam Neeson. Justice never looked so satisfying.